and that you had a good lunch. I'm also back sitting here. Um, so let us continue. Jack, we're going to go into the breakout room soon. So what we are going to do now is we're going to go into a telling of a story and listening to the client's story. And I want you to look at this thin descriptions and just listen to the client story. So what's going to happen now in your to the group leaders, what must happen is that each person in the group have to tell a problem that they are currently experiencing. Anybody, well, we all should have some problem. And so if you're about 4 in the group, hey Jack, 4 to 5 in the group. Okay. So every
Yes,
single
yes.
person. Okay, so every single person, if there's 5 in the group, 5 must tell their problem narratives. The job of the others who's not speaking is just to listen. You're allowed to take notes. You're not allowed to ask questions. All you have to do is just to listen to the problem that the client is presenting to you. So you are just going to listen. If you do have questions, write it down, but don't ask. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys until 10 past 1 to do this. You should be finished by then. The group leaders or the persons who first give us feedback, I'm going to ask you guys to act as group leaders. Please ensure that everybody has a turn to tell their problem. Chandra will be our traveling angel, our St. Christopher. And if you have any problems with the exercise, then please contact us. But everybody must have a turn to share their problem narrative. We are now going to go in working with our own life narrative. So that's why we're working with the current problem that we have. Okay, thanks, Jack.
Okay, so we're going to do this until 10 past
Yes.
1. So let's open the groups for you.
Okay, Jack, as almal terug is, dan kan ons 'n bietjie terugvoer kry, net so 'n sentence or two about the listening to the client's problem.
Hmm. Yeah. Let's just jump in. So let's hear from group two. If you guys want to give us a bit of feedback, maybe someone else, Carla, Karen's group, Madeleine, um, about what did you hear? You don't have to tell us everything about everyone, but yeah, what was interesting for you?
Jack, may I just rephrase the question slightly?
Hmm.
I want to know, were you able to just listen to the client's
Hmm.
story? And were there questions you wanted to ask, yes or no? Okay.
Okay, ek is die een.
Welkom.
Die slagoffer.
Baie dankie. Ek is slagoffer. So, yes, we were quite able just to listen. Quite surprised, although we had to keep each other in check.
Ah, so you,
But not that much.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all listened, and my personal experience, I felt like, okay, let me just say something before you go on. Maar ek was bang vir jou, Lizette, so ek het dit nie gedoen nie.
Ek is baie bly hy is bang vir my, dat ek lyk soos hierdie monstertjie hierso.
Keep that in your mind. Lizette standing over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have a little red devil, you have a blonde Lizette standing on your shoulder.
Yes. And yes, I did have questions that I would like to ask. For more clarity, especially for more clarity. I think most of us felt it that way. Our little chat afterwards was more of a get to know you so that we don't ask questions.
But that was a problem. Because you were only supposed to listen to the client's problem.
Yeah, so we only listened to their problems. Nah?
Okay.
The get to know you was also a problem.
Did you make notes of the
Yes.
questions?
I made
Okay.
notes, yes. I'm not so sure if the ladies did, but I'm sure they did.
Okay, fantastic. Right. Lizette, let's hear from Danelle and Isabel's group. What did you guys experience?
We didn't really choose someone to talk. Is there any one of the other three that wants to say
That's
something?
okay, Isabel. You jump in. It's good.
Well, yeah, I think it's easier to listen, or it's easy to listen on the one hand, but I think it was also kind of like, should we ask questions now or should we not ask questions yet? Yeah, so I think that was difficult. It's also, I think for me personally, it's sometimes difficult to know just what questions to ask. I really struggle to ask the right questions to get more information. Yeah, so to think a bit more of like I can listen, but if you only talk for a minute, then I don't really know what to ask to get you to talk more or om uit te brei. So I think that was something we all shared our stories, but it was kind of just like you share your story, and now it's like, okay, quiet.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
we're gonna see now. Your wish will be fulfilled. So just hold on to your horses, because the next phase is coming. So group one, Katie Diaz's group. Did you guys, Karen?
Yes, I can give some feedback. From my side, I did feel like I wanted to ask some questions, but and also I'm kind of in a routine or a whatever to ask reflective questions. So I had to keep that quiet as well. But I think everyone did very well in the group. They listened well. I could see heads nodding, and so yeah, it was a good experience.
Fantastic. So overall, again, it is a like Lizette said, a therapeutic group, but it's also a kind of, it's not a natural therapeutic group because it is still for training purposes. But I think you guys overall did well to limit yourself to not ask questions because that is something that we really want to do.
Mandy said in the chat, Jack, that we struggle to listen only as we tend to want to give advice immediately. So for most students, this is the most difficult exercise they've ever done because it's a discipline to allow the client to tell their story in their way.
Because, Lizette, as soon as you ask a question, you influence their story
Correct.
or the
Yes.
telling,
Yay!
the telling of their story.
Chandra, do you want to add? Okay.
No, not really. Just what Jack said is, yes, on the spot.
Because you then focus on what you think is important. And that's why you ask the question.
And it kind of derailed it. Now the client is, oh, okay, maybe I want to, the counselor wants me to rather talk on that. And then it kind of goes. So to keep quiet and to really, you can maybe say words like yes and then, or I hear, or I understand, maybe things like that, but not questions.
You're not supposed to be cold, you know, but you can be involved in the conversation. Okay, so now I want you to literally put your hands on your head. Put your hands on your head. I hope everybody's doing it. Take off your therapist hat and put it aside. And now you're the client again. Good. So you can take your hands off your head. You're now the client. So, so we switch modes. So my question now to the groups was, what did you feel when somebody just listened to you? What did you feel when somebody just listened to you as a client? You can ask Isabel.
I think it's difficult sometimes because I grew up not like with my parents. My dad is very much like speaks all over you, so doesn't really give you a chance to listen. So I grew up not knowing what it's like for someone to just listen to me. So I constantly expect you to just chip in, just say something. I don't want to continue speaking. So I feel like, okay, but maybe I should stop speaking now, I'm speaking too much or whatever. So I think that's also where it helps if someone is just like, yes, go on, or like, tell me more. If someone says something like that, I think that's good. But it's also, to know that someone is actually listening. It's not just like, oh yeah, it's in the background. They're actually just thinking about what they want to say. So I think that's also encouraging, actually.
Thank you, Isabel. That was so cool. That is cool. That's really awesome.
Nomatandazo. He raised a hand.
For me, I felt safe.
Oh,
For some reason, I felt safe because I am that introvert person. When I tell my story, it's like I am undressing myself. I feel naked, and I do not want people to see me naked. So God took me to another level where I just felt safe. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Lord, for that. Thank you for this.
That's
I've got
vulnerability.
vulnerability. Because I actually feel tearful just to hear you say that, because you just, please guys, please write this metaphor down. Because when a client trusts you with their story, we always say this is holy ground. This is the experience. They are undressing literally in front of you. Thank you for that. That was beautifully put. Thank you so much. So beautiful. Diaz, did you also want to add to how did it feel just to tell your story? You're the male here among us, so tell us, how did it feel from the male's perspective?
You see, there's a sense of relief, you and also you want even to go deeper and deeper. But because you you are relieved. Somebody is listening, and even though he's not talking, but you can see that as he listens, he soundboard. He will come back, tell me, "Oh, I understand.
Wow.
This is what happened to you. It was hard, but you really, that sense makes you to talk and like emotional catharsis to relieve yourself with that burden that you don't want. Take it down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please hear what Diaz is saying. It's hard. This is why we're now looking from the client's perspective. This is why I asked this question. It's hard for the client to expose themselves, to undress in front of another person. I just want to, Jack, read some of the comments that people have said in the chat. Katie said relief. We've heard this so many times echoed. Carla said important, and they understood. Mandy says, I felt heard and understood. Mandy, can I just make a comment on that? The minute you felt heard, somebody heard you, that very act gives you value. Isabel, I know your dad loved you very much, but when you don't allow, I just want to use this as an example, so please don't be offended. But when we allow space for somebody to express themselves, we allow the person to be. And I think that is so powerful. I felt understood, sister. Now, I agree with Isabel, which means it's a relief. Wow, Dia said a sense of relief that someone had listened. Oh, Cindy, I love what you just said. And this is the power of narrative. You've already experienced the power of narrative now by just this simple exercise. Cindy said, I could speak as I needed to explain and I felt understood. Alida. Sorry,
Just
Jack.
No, I was just saying, you guys literally, how long did you speak for? Like
About
a
5
minute or
minutes
two?
each. Around about.
So imagine, this is just speaking 5 minutes. Imagine, being allowed, in a sense, to speak until your heart is empty, to speak
Wow.
even for an hour and allowing your client to do so. I mean, imagine the power in that. And I say this many times, most people you meet or know in life have never, ever done that. They've never
Yes.
told their entire story to anybody. The other day, I spoke to someone, and for the first time, she could tell someone else she had an abortion, and she carried that for like 20 years. And the relief she felt just to be able to tell it to someone that she thought she was gonna be judged for that. Not judge her, but at least give her a place to say and kind of relieve that burden. It's powerful. Even just creating a space and listening. Lizette says she doesn't like the word counselor or berader, as if you should give the advice for the problems. Just like pastoral listening, a listener. Literally, that's what people want. They need that.
And Jack, just on that point, Alida said, feel like I didn't make any sense. That's okay. That's okay, Alida, because that is the beginning. And that's what clients feel like. I'm so confused about my own situation. How can I tell somebody else when I don't have words for it? Karen said, thank you, Karen. And this is the door that we open for clients when we just listen. She said, I wanted to share and speak more and more. Wow, you guys did something amazing, because what I see here from the client's perspective, is that this feeling of I am safe. Zanai, I felt understood and relieved. Dia says, it makes me speak more and more. Carla said, I felt at peace. Mandy, with the naked, feeling comes a certain vulnerability that must be treated with the utmost respect. That's what I mean when I say take off your shoes. This is holy ground. This is absolutely holy ground where we meet the client in their desperation, in their stuckness. Yolandi said, feeling heard with the capital letters, the word heard, makes you feel that you are not going mad. Can we just say yes? Because there are sometimes events in our lives that just makes us feel like, how can we make sense of this? It's just not possible to make sense of this. Right. Okay, touch your head. Touch your head. Everybody's hands on their heads. Right, we're taking off our client hat. We're putting it down. We're picking up our counselor hat. Put it on your head. Okay, counselors, we are diving into the next. So I want you to listen to this. What you've heard now was a thin story. Just a thin story. It contains few events and are spare in detail because you didn't have a lot of time. Thick stories, on the other hand, are very elaborate and rich in their nature. Stories get thick because they are told and told again. And they are usually embellished upon with each telling. So a couple of you said, I want to talk more and more because you want to explain more. Alida, this is the place where you will feel it makes sense once you start down this path. More details and descriptions is added to the original sparse story, making the retold story more vivid and complete. Dominant stories are rich and thick. Alternative stories tend to be sparse and thin. Now, in my narrative of getting older, there's a little bit of a lost story as well, because I have outlived my mom now by 4 years. And there's nobody that I can bounce to with the old aging process and identity. There is a change in identity, and I'm not sure what to make of it. And I think maybe, as I start to think about it, maybe a little bit of survival guilt that I am outliving it. I wonder what's happening in my own story. That is when we start to work with our stories, narrative interventions. Look for the covered up story, which may aid and highlight by bringing these undercover stories forward and these destructive influence of these overworked storylines. So, Jack, we are going to bounce back into our discussion groups. Our breakout. I like the word discussion groups much better. I'm going to write it down because breakout rooms, what's it's always been associated for me is people breaking out of jail. So every time I see breakout rooms, I see my students running away and going to sit by the swimming pool. Okay, so you guys are going to retell the same story, but you have written down thoughts of things you wanted to know more. So you are allowed to ask questions, and at the same time, there's a phrase I love to use, and this is the phrase that I heard you say the following, where we check the client's story. Okay, this is not an interrogation with FBI and heavy lights and so on. This is pastoral questioning. So let us keep that in mind with how you're going to ask these questions. Jack, if we give everybody about 10 minutes for everyone to be a client, because everybody in the group must be a client. And for those who are therapists at that point, you need to note, what did the client tell differently? Did they use more detail? Did they use less detail? What did they tell that was different to the first telling? I need some help with the time, Jack. I'm thinking if we give everybody till 2:30, but sort of like have a leg stretch in between so that we're back here by 2:30. It's an hour. We're back here by 2:30. That should be good.
Yeah.
Because this is an important exercise.
At the most, there are 5 people, so that's 15 minutes. But then you have a bit of a, but there's going to be a bit of Q&A. But an hour. Let me know if you need a bit more time. Maybe we can add 10 minutes or so. But
this is an important exercise. Very important.
For now, let's give an hour, and I'll tell you when the time is about up. And then, but in between, have a leg stretch as well, and then we'll be back here in 1 hour's time.